Hello guys, it's been a while. I just want to say thank you for clicking onto this video. I'm just gonna ask you to please subscribe and share the video. Press that like button and give me some thumbs up, please. Subscribe. I've been too busy trying to catch up making videos, man. Today I wasn't even going to make this video, but I had to. I just had to find time to make this video. I'm gonna title this video like, who's responsible for ending poverty in Africa, and who's responsible for creating wealth, jobs and employment among black people all over the world. In America, in Europe, anywhere black people are, in Brazil, wherever we are. Who is responsible for these things? All right, a few years ago, I'm in Tanzania, right? I love Tanzania, man. Arusha, I love quietness, Bagamoyo, those are my places for me, So, I'm in Tanzania, and I come across a group of farmers in this area. They grow nuts. Nice area, good fertile land. They're growing nuts all over the place. It's just nice, good nuts. And they're making money. They sell these nuts. But all they kept talking about was how the government needs to bring in a factory. The government needs to do this. And I thought to myself, I kind of got upset. I didn't say much. I go home and I just thought to myself, I'm like, why do we always think of the government? In Africa, it's just the government. Everything the government has to do for us, like literally everything. If the government doesn't do things, then we are in trouble. But then I tried to look around the world, how other people think. I go back 700-800 years ago. I'm reading a book by Machiavelli. I think it's called what's the title again? It's a famous book. It's even free on Apple. You can listen to. Just put Machiavelli there. Not Tupac. Nicola Machiavelli, Italian dude. And I'm listening to his book, and he's talking about the Germans. He's comparing the Germans and the Italians, and how the Germans were organized, how they kept their food, and this and that. There was a bit more organization among the Germans than the Italians. And you can see it even today. The Germans, with their sense of, detail and all that, they've produced some of the best cars in the world, in terms of design and some of the best machinery in the world, And if the world had left Hitler to, just give him a couple of years, they could have developed enough technology to defeat everyone else. They could have, So this is 800 years ago. The Germans were organized people. They were an organized group of villages. Okay? Then we go back to America. You know why Americans have guns? They don't have those guns to kill each other. Unfortunately, in black communities they do. But the way that started, and the reason why a lot of people try to protect the gun laws and blah 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 and all that, it's because it started as a way for people to protect themselves against the government. I know that sounds funny because the government is the people, but I tell you what, when you go, I'm going to tell you to Japan. I think it was a guy called Hiromoto or something like that. This is after Oda Nobunaga is killed. This guy was one of his soldiers, comes back, defeats the guy that made Oda Nobunaga kill himself. And this guy becomes the first, pretty much, he's the one who managed to unite Japan. Because I tell you what, and I'll do a video about this, In Japan, it was also divided. There was different just tribes and groups, and they used to fight each other for territory. This guy managed to unite Japan. But one thing he did was, and he wasn't even like in the line of so-called like emperors. He had to create that image. He came from peasants, you know. So he knew how the peasants worked and what it is to be a peasant, and what it took for peasants to survive. And guess what? When he became leader, the first thing he did was to take away the weapons of all the peasants. So all the ordinary people that had the samurai weapons and this and that, he took away all of that. Why do you think that? Because it became easy to manage them. Okay? So don't laugh at the Americans with their gun culture. There's a meaning to it. I think there's a meaning that's actually, in my opinion, is quite reasonable. Okay? But in Africa, it looks like everything we do, we go to sleep thinking about the government, we wake up thinking about the government, right? And it's not just in Africa. I reckon even in America, our American brothers and sisters, they also rely too much on the government. That's why you realize that the biggest employer of Americans and of black Americans is actually the government. You know, because it's always the government, the government, the government. You know, you come to Africa, everyone cries about the government, but that's not how it should be. I'll bring you to Australia. After the Second World War, Australia is trying to encourage people to come to Australia. So they'll go there, they'll go to Italy, Germany, and England and lie to people about, come to Australia, we're going to give you land. That's the only thing they could offer. There was no welfare facilities back then, or services back then, okay? So they say, we're going to give you land. And people get here, go on the ship. It used to take weeks, if not months, to get to Australia. People get here. The government takes them in this jungle, gives them land with, a pick and a hammer and little things. And they promise them a few other things which they never delivered. But guess what? These people did not give 2 cents about the government. They started working the land. They started coming together, creating organizations to look after themselves. And guess what? Today, when you go, 60 years later, you go to this place, it's beautiful. There's wineries, they've created jobs. Now the government is gone back to tax them. And this is the part, black people, not just Africans, black people, the part we miss. Elon Musk is now paying hundreds of millions of dollars in taxes to the government. But guess what? When Elon Musk was starting to create Tesla, the government did not give him money. They didn't even not think of him. Same thing. Steve Jobs, it wasn't the government. It was other, it was venture capitalists who was able to give a 19-year-old kid $50,000 because they believed in what these kids were thinking about. It wasn't the government. But when they started making money, that's when the government comes in. In Africa, we just want the government, the government, the government. And that's where we get it wrong. We should be able to start establishing companies, coming up with corporations, and then the government is going to step in. And then it's going to give us the power to control the government. Because then we can say, you know what? If you want us to be paying you our taxes, maybe you should fix up the roads. Maybe you should make the health services better. But as long as everything is the government, we're going to go no. And this is why you're going to find a lot of Africans in general, they want to get into politics for the wrong reasons. They want to get into politics because politics pays well. Ministers in poor countries like Zambia are getting $15,000. Dollars, not even kwacha, which is their currency. Dollars. So what does that tell you? We've got this government thing twisted. We've got the government thing twisted. If you look at our friends in America, they can cry over there's racism in America. There's no doubt about that. But America is one country where making money is actually very easy. One country where it's easier to make money in Africa if you got some. But I tell you what, In America, you could be making money where you're sleeping, you are snoring and stuff. You could be making money, right? And it's called, and you do that through the stock exchange and also real estate, because everyone in the world wants to go to America, you know. So even when you have you have a business that's making you $60,000, if you are in America, and I'm gonna focus. The reason why I'm focusing about this, because I know America is a rough place and it's a racist country, right? And there's a lot of racism going on there. I agree that, but at the same time, it's one place where I've seen a lot of black people, not basketball players, not all these athletes, just ordinary black people become millionaires just by following simple rules, not investing all your money into teams. You got a black team, you got a white team, a blue team, and every time there's a bit of dirt on your Timberlands, you gotta go and buy a new one. Nah, by not doing that, okay? By not buying, every time a big TV comes up, you gotta chuck your other big TV and buy a brand new big TV. You know, by just avoiding those and investing money into the stock market. You know, all the big companies that are making money, look at what has happened to Amazon. You know, all the big companies, Google, Apple, Microsoft, they're all in America. What makes these people, Bill Gates, them the richest people in the world, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, all this, because they're in America. You know, so this is why I tell my people, like, let's stop focusing on so much on racism. Actually, if we kept quiet and started focusing on creating corporations, man, racism will be able to minimize racism. But we are not doing that. The problem is we are always trying to look for work. And this is why we complain. Because guess what? When you are looking for work and you are a race that's not creating employment, you're not going to be important in any country. People will stomp on you. You know, I'm looking at this guy that started Coinbase. He's got his own YouTube channel. You should check it out. And he's talking about how he started. You know, his first jobs were crap. But he didn't. His first job was crap, but he didn't stop there. He went and learned how to code. This is the new thing, guys. And I'm going to encourage, if you are in America or even in Africa, learn how to code. Find a way to learn something that's technology averse. Because that's where the jobs are. That's what's creating jobs. This guy is now pretty much a billionaire. He was working. He had a good job. He was making maybe $300,000, but he managed to change that now from $300,000 to about $2 billion. He managed to do it. You know, it's not. This is why I say when people started attacking Asians, there was 50 million money put into the Asian community to help them. You know why? Because they've created so many companies, so many industries in America. You become a valuable citizen. Because at the end of the day, the whole world is about money. Okay? So people in Africa, don't wait for the government. You two learn to come together. And this is the problem where the trust in our community is what we need, is needed. We need trust. Because you cannot do... Yeah, because you can't do business without trust. If there's no trust, there's no business. You know, and that's the struggle that we have in our community. By the way, so why did I want to make this video? Why was I mentioning Germany or the Germans 800 years ago? Why did I mention the Japanese? Actually, the guy who succeeded Oda Nobunaga was Toyotomi Hideyoshi. This is the guy who managed to bring Japan together. You know, and when I was talking about Niccolo Machiavelli, comparing the Germans, the reason why I said that was to show you how organized the Germans were back then. When they were just a bunch of villagers. They didn't wait. They didn't even have like this president or whatever. Everyone was just working together, creating something. That's something we don't have in our community. the reason why I decided to make this video was I made a video where I was talking about African Americans and the diaspora that's going to the Gambia might be in trouble, because from what I could see was just them building houses, not really creating employment. You know, and then someone said it wasn't the responsibility of these returnees to create jobs, it was the responsibility of the government. You know, that is where everything is wrong. That's where everything is wrong. One thing, after I did my research, I found out that African billionaires are actually the most philanthropic billionaires in the world. Alright? So the Dangotes, the Strive Masiwa, especially Strive Masiwa. Strive Masiwa has got like hundreds of thousands of kids he's sponsoring, you know, all over the world. Universities, and you know, if you have ever been an international student, you know that stuff ain't cheap. But he's sponsoring these kids. But in our community, in the successful people in our community, you hardly see this. Okay? Because this is what happens when you have money. It becomes your responsibility to take care of the community. It just becomes like that. You know, again, I can bring you back to Australia. There's a billionaire here called, we call him Twiggy, but his name is Andrew Forrest. This man puts hundreds of millions of dollars into cancer research, into children's hospitals, into all sorts of things. He's become a philanthropic individual in his community. You know, but everyone in our community, if anything, the rich people in our community, they're there to show off. You know, I'm wearing red bottoms, I'm wearing Gucci, I'm wearing this, something that's not even important. You know, and this is why you got it twisted. The government is not responsible. We have to start creating jobs. Jobs, jobs, jobs. When you have jobs, I'll give you an example. Right? A couple of weeks ago, actually, I met a dude. He's Nigerian, and we were talking. Right? It was like a business venture thing, that a business forum I was attending, and I'm talking to him. So I'm like, so what do you do? So I thought he said he's in training. He's in some training like services or something. So I said, hey, what do you train? He's like, no, but he was trying to be all shy about it, you know. And then he's like, no, I'm doing like cleaning services. I'm like, dude, why you sound shy, man? That's a business. You know, as long as you have a business, I'm supporting. I'm like, that's even good, man. I'm trying to have a hotel with 4,000 rooms. He's like, really? I'm like, no. Not necessarily building a hotel. Airbnb. I'm just buying houses and houses and houses. Before, I could clean everything myself. Now, I can't keep up. So I need someone. You know, I've been employing people to clean up the houses. But I couldn't find black people. You know, so I've just been employing Asians. So you give me your business card. Oh, no, but I don't have my business. I'm like, all right, give me your number. You know, because when we start doing business within our communities, we won't need to go outside. You know, so we'll be providing employment. I'm seeing issues in Perth. I'm seeing Indians buy. So, you know, so I'm seeing these Indians buy these things and employ only Indians. You know, I'm seeing them start up a car wash and employ only Indians. Now, if you are black and you go there to get a job and they say no, and then you start complaining, racism. Yeah, tell your people to create the jobs and go and work for them. You know, we gotta stop this thing. I always give an example of this woman that does firewood. You know, she's an African lady. This woman, especially now that winter is coming up here, cars line up to her house. All white people lining up to go and buy firewood from her. You know, she's created a job for herself. And there's no one there denying the fire. She's generous with the firewood and it's good priced. Her product is the best. And people go and buy. Obviously, there's some racists that don't want to buy from a black woman. That's fine. But guess what? Majority of people go and buy. Some of them might even be racist. But hey, you wanna save money on your gas and buy some firewood? I got some firewood. That's it. Racism, you don't even have to talk to me. Just give me the money, take the firewood. That's it. We're gonna minimize racism when we start creating jobs. When we start creating businesses. It doesn't matter where. In America, in Africa, when we own our own businesses, we're gonna start doing great. You know, the government is not there to provide for you. The government is you. So if we cannot create jobs, how do we expect people that come from our community to create jobs? This is why it's very hard to create jobs in Africa. You know, so please, this mentality of saying the government has to create jobs, the government has to come up with factories. I've never seen the government in Australia running anything. You know, today I live in Perth. Perth is a very big mining state. You know, some of the biggest mining companies you've ever heard of are from here. You know, Rio Tinto, BHP, they started from here. The government did not start these mines. People did. Okay? But today, the government is nothing without these mines. I want you guys to start knowing this, to start thinking about this. When we start creating jobs in our communities, eventually we're going to start producing presidents that know how to create jobs. Okay? The government is there to provide an environment where people can succeed, but the people can start without the government getting involved. This reliance on the government, everywhere black people are, is the problem. We are poor. Look at the Germans. 800 years ago, they were still organized. 800 years ago, they were still looking after themselves. You know, I'm not hearing people coming together and working together. You know, I'm gonna even do a video about this, because even the things people are getting excited about. Oh, Hyundai and Kia, which is same company, owned by the same person, they're about to open up a factory in Ghana, and all the Ghanaians are dancing. Am I the only person who thinks differently? You know what I'll celebrate is when I hear that Kantanka is going to open up a factory, or Kantanka has just got a contract to supply 1 million cars, or to sell cars in South Korea. That will get me excited. The reason why these companies are coming to Ghana is because they want to keep you poor, because of your low wages. They can't build cars in South Korea anymore, because now it's become expensive. So they are coming to you because of your low wages, and they'll try by all means to keep it that way. You know, there's countries in Asia that have been manufacturing cars for decades now. Their economies are developing. Okay, I'm going on a tangent. That's a video for other days. But I want you guys to think about this. We are the investors. Everywhere where there's been foreigners investing, they're just there to rip us off. You know, the true investors that I've seen are when Africans invest. Look at Strive Masiwa. Let me just give you this example. Strive Masiwa had to fight to start Econet in Zimbabwe against the government. He was fighting the government. But guess what? 20 years later, it's Econet who are the biggest taxpayer business in Zimbabwe. The biggest. The Zimbabwean government cannot live without Econet. You see? You see how things work? He's employed more people than any other business in Zimbabwe. You know, he's even on the stock market. Zimbabweans have invested money. Imagine if every country in Africa had someone like Strive Masiwa. Imagine if there was 1 million Strive Masiwas in America, owning franchises, owning all sorts of things in the hood, whatever, all the delis, all the little shops, they are all owned by Africans or by black people. It will be a different story. We'll be creating jobs, our own jobs. As long as we have to go and beg for a job from a white man, a white factory, a white corporation, you are nobody. We're gonna be nobodies. Mark my word. Please, let us remember that we are the investors Africa needs. or we are the investors in our community that our communities need, and the government is not there to help us out. We are here to help. We are the ones to help the government. Once we have that mentality, black communities all over the world, economically, they will improve. Thank you guys, and share this video. Goodbye.